Mr. Speaker,
I call the Honourable Member Dennis O'Rourke.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In my first speech, I said I thought there was a glaring omission, and that is in the new section 96L, which is the one which requires consultation by participating agencies with the Privacy Commissioner, any person or organisation representing a class of persons affected, and anyone else the agencies think should be consulted. But the Children's Commissioner has not been specified. And while it comes under the second of those three categories I mentioned, any person or organisation representing a class of persons affected, I believe that the Children's Commissioner should be specifically included in the section. And I note, Mr. Speaker and Mr. Chairman, that the Children's Commissioner did make a submission and said this: I would also expect that my office would be a party to any consultation process under section 96L regarding information sharing agreements that affect the rights and interests of children. So why then has that not been done? It seems to me not only to be a harmless addition, but one which may be of some considerable value. I have therefore prepared an SOP which would insert the Children's Commissioner as a mandatory consultee, and I would ask that all parties in the House consider that. And I do so because I think the interests of children are a significant issue which must be very well provided for, because of course they cannot be expected to look after their own interests and need special treatment in this way. And Mr. Chairman, Minister Collins has told me by letter that she considers that where the interests of children are relevant, section 96L already provides for participating agencies to consult, quote, any person or organisation that the agencies consider represents the interests of the classes of individuals whose personal information will be shared under the proposed agreement. And for that reason, she said that National would be unlikely to support my SOP. But I think her reasoning is flawed. The part of section 96L that I read out refers to persons or organisation the agencies consider represent a class of persons. The point is that this effectively means that the agencies will decide if there is a need to consult the Children's Commissioner. Most agencies are not equipped to make that assessment and are not likely to consult when it is in fact advisable to do so. My SOP makes it mandatory for the Children's Commissioner to be consulted, and the Children's Commissioner can then decide if a response is needed. And that seems to me to be the way it should be. The Children's Commissioner deciding whether in fact there is consultation that is worthwhile, and not some agency that may well not really know what it's doing. And I don't think it would be a very great imposition on agencies. After all they needed to do in the first instance is to write a letter to the Children's Commissioner to ask whether consultation would be appropriate in a particular case. Then the Commissioner can decide, and not the agency or agencies concerned. So I don't see any reason why the SOP should not be adopted. It is not only harmless, it is likely to be of considerable value. And the government should think again about that small but important issue. So I call on the government to adopt the SOP for those reasons. And I would say this, Mr. Chairman, that I've heard speeches from the opposition today saying that they do regard the functions of the Commissioner and the protection of personal privacy to be important. If that is true, they will have no hesitation in supporting this SOP. If they don't support it, then I will no longer consider that their assertions about the protection of personal privacy, especially in that very important area, the protection of children's privacy, is something that they really in fact hold dear. So this will be the test. This will be the test of whether, in fact, they are interested in those issues or whether they just want to drive this bill through because they're more interested in public agencies being allowed to do what they like.
I call the honourable member Scott Simpson.
I move